This video is going to show the steps for creating a UDF flush PM in Maximo. I'm going to start here. I'm logged in to Maximo Production, and I am going to go to Job Plans. Now, once I get into Job Plans, I'm going to look for an existing UDF. So you can see I have sheet number 9 here. We're going to create sheet number 10. And I have the 2 steps for the sheets. Those are the job plans I have active. So I'm going to open up sheet number 9. And in the actions, I'm going to duplicate the job plan. I'm going to change the description here to sheet 10. And I'm going to change the CalGrid page to 1569-514. And where I'm getting at is there are these spreadsheets that the valve crew is currently using. You can see this is sheet 10. Here's your CalGrid page. It's going to be a total feet flushed of 1,075, total gallons of 4,355, and then it gives you the steps. You know, first step is this blow off at this location. It's 550 feet. You're going to flush at 350 gallons per minute for 5 minutes, and it gives you the total gallons flushed. So I have that for both the steps here. And what we've done ahead of time is we've gone in, located these 2 blow-offs on NGIS and found the facility IDs, and I've recorded them in this column. So these are my 2 facility IDs. This will allow me to create this PM. So this is where I'm getting the data from. So I've changed the title to sheet 10. I've given it the correct CalGrid number. You can see it's classified against UDF header, which is correct, and I'll show you what that does here in a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. A few other things, you know, I have the responsibility set to Brandon Chalk. He's the supervisor of the work group 415, which is the valve crew. So he's the supervisor on this, and he's the owner of this job plan. So from here, I'm going to go to the specifications tab. And you can see this is the UDF header classification that I've added to this. And these are the numbers from the sheet we just duplicated. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to change this to 1569-514. And again, from that spreadsheet I was just showing, it's 1,075 feet total. It's 4,355 gallons total. And this is sheet number 10. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Come back to the job plan. This is done, so I'm going to change the status. I'm going to take it from current status as draft. I'm going to take it to active. Save the work. So I have my UDF for sheet 10. Now I'm going to go in and create the steps. So I'm going to take sheet 9's step number 1, pull that up. I'm going to duplicate this job plan. I'm going to change this to say sheet 10. This is not a hydrant in this case, so I'm going to change this to blow off. And the importance of this is on the work orders, when it shows each individual work order in the order that we want them done, it's giving them an instruction here. This is step 1 for sheet 10. They know exactly what they're on, and it's telling them to flush the blow off, right? So they know what they're being asked to do. This could say open valve or close valve or flush hydrant or any of the instructions from that spreadsheet that they used to use for this, right? So I'm going to take this description, copy it, come down here, and paste it in here. I'm going to save this. Now, this task 10, right, is step 1. It's flush the blow off. I have a classification here called flush steps. Now, what that does is when you go to the specifications on this tab, it's different than the first step that I showed because it's a different classification. And again, I'm going to take this, and this is all from the step that that I duplicated. So in this case, we're flushing 350 gallons per minute for 5 minutes. This is 550 feet of line. It's a total of 1,615 gallons. I'm going to save that. And again, I'm getting that information from this sheet. It's 350 gallons per minute, 5 minutes, it's 550 feet, and 1,615 gallons. So that's why I was getting that data. Come back to the job plan tab, change the status from draft to active. I'll point out all of these are asset type PM. So what that means is all of these job plans that we're building will not show when you select an asset in Field Force or Omni, right? Because these are PM styles. We don't want somebody to see hundreds and hundreds of job plans when they click on a valve or a hydrant or a line. You know, we want these only to be used for PM, so they basically we're filtering them out from the pick list in the CCWD software by doing it this way. So I have step 1 for this. I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this job plan instead of going back and picking another one. I'll make this step 2. It's still the same sheet. Step 2 is a blow off, so I'm going to leave it as flush blow off. I'll come down here and just to step 2, save this, go into the specifications. In this case, it's gallons per minute. It's still 5 minutes that we're asking them to flush. This is 125 feet, and that gives us a total of 2,740 gallons. So we'll save that. Come back here, change the status from draft to active. So now I have the 3 job plans. I have the header, and I have step 1 and step 2, and that really completes this, the steps for this PM. So I'm going to go back to my start center. In my recent apps, I'm going to go to a route. Let the routes load up. I'm just going to hit the search. Right, you can see I have some routes in here. I'm going to pick one of those routes. I'm going to duplicate the route, and I'm going to name it UDF-010. I'm going to change the description. 10, and this is 1569-514. Now, this is an interesting thing. So you can see I already have 2 steps on this existing route. I picked one, I just happen to have 2, and that's what I need. But they're obviously not the steps that I want. But what I want to point out is sequence 1, I put in step 2. And in sequence 2, I put in step 1. So I do these in descending order, because what happens is when this PM cycles, it's going to create a child work order for each one of these. And the way the CCWD software displays them is in descending order. So I want step 1 at the bottom of this list, and then work backwards up the list so that step 1 is the work order with the highest number, the most recent work order. That way it displays in the CCWD software in the order we want it to display. So, okay, I think we've covered that. So I'm on step 1. I hit this arrow. I have it open. I'm going to go here to the job plan. I'm going to say select value. I'll put sheet 10 in here. Here's my sheets, right? So I want to pick step 2 because, again, I want the last step first, right? So you see that added this here. And then this location, I'm going to wipe this out. And this location is, again, this location number right here that I said we went in and pulled ahead of time. on this sheet. So the location for this is 4, 5, 2, 1. Tab over so you can see that this pulled the blow off. You know, you can kind of dumb check this, that the cal grid number is the same, right? So I know that we pulled the right facility ID, right? So I'll go ahead and save this, right? So I have step 2 is done. It's here in sequence 1. And I'll open up sequence 2. Same thing, select value. Put 0 in here. Grab step 1. Mark the location. Go back to my spreadsheet and look at what the new location ought to be, and it's 353. 4. Okay, this is perfect. So sometimes you'll get this this arrow here, and it means that there's an issue, right? There's a problem with it. So if you click the little magnifying glass to see the problem, what you'll see is this number actually lines up with 2 different locations. In this case, it's 1/2 of the location for a pressurized main. So because that main goes from facility ID to facility ID, basically from point to point, and that represents that section of pressurized main. So this is just telling you that this number, it wants to know which one of these 2 you want. And obviously we want the blow off. So I'm going to pick the blow off, and you see that error goes away. I'm able to save it. So now I have a route, UDF 010. I have the 2 steps, and they're in descending order. So step 2 is first, step 1 is second. Then go back to the start center. Going to go into preventive maintenance. Description here, and I'll put sheet 009 because I know that one. Oh, I'm sorry, sheet 008, 009 we didn't have. Oh, I see a mistake here, right? So I named it sheet 008, but really this one is sheet 009. So anyways, I'm fixing that mistake right now. Okay, so this was sheet 009. I skipped 008 because there's some questions on the spreadsheet that I've asked for some clarification from Brandon on. So anyways, I'm on sheet 009. This is one that already exists. This PM is active. It's running. So I'm going to go down here to duplicate PM. This is sheet 10. Going to change the cal grid page to 1569-514. I'm going to change the route. The route is, you can see it's UDF 9. I'm going to pick the UDF 10 that we just created. And the job plan, I'm going to select value and sheet 010. So I want to pick the one with the header information, right? So I got the header information here, and then the 2 child work orders come from here, the step 1 and step 2. I'm going to save that at this point. You can see it's still in status draft. Go to frequency. This is every 5 years, right, which is consistent with how I named it up here. Every 5 years. And then it's going to come out 30 days ahead of whenever I say the next due date is. And in this case, since we're launching September 14th of 2020, I'm going to go ahead and give it that date, September 14th, 2020. And you can see the estimated next due date is September 14th, 2020. So now I'm going to go here to change status, change the status from the draft status to active. And what this will do is when the PM cron runs, if it's within 30 days of the next due date, it's going to generate not only this header, this work order header with all the information we put into this job plan 1070, but it'll also produce the 2 child work orders for the route, which is basically saying to flush first one blow off, then the other blow off. So this is how you make a UDF in Maximo.